has $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Hey guys, welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Carmine Bianco. This is Stoppage Time. A different background for me today. I am not at home. I am in Westgate, Las Vegas. It is the WagerTalk meet and greet this weekend, so hopefully you guys can all make it out. But before then, we've got some EPL action. We're going to look at 3 games on today's card. On today's show, we're going to look at 3 games going on the weekend. We're going to look at Everton, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle, Man City, and then Manchester United. A little bit of turmoil there, or a lot of turmoil, facing Liverpool, who aren't off to the best starts themselves. With me from WagerTalk.com, it's Kevin Dolan. From Sports Memo, Pavlos, Laguretos, and we have Bryan Power joining us, a new addition to the WagerTalk family, and we're going to have him on today, filling in Nick's spot. Let's bring them in. Kev, I'm going to go to you first, my friend. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, Carmine. Coming off a pretty wild weekend. We won in rugby. We had a nice weekend in MLB as well. Went 3-0 at MLS. Actually, MLS has been really good this season. 36-19 run right now. But unfortunately for us, this isn't the MLB show. It isn't the MLS show. Indeed, it's not the rugby show. We do need one of those, though. We need a rugby show. This is the European soccer show, in particular EPL. And I got absolutely hosed in European soccer. So while it was an average weekend overall, didn't fare so well. But just the results, man. Napoli 5-2. When do you ever see that? Our 5% game of the week was on Stuttgart Werder Bremen under 3 goals. 1.80 XG total in that game. 35% less goal attempts than the Bundesliga average as well. But of course, we see 4 goals. And not one, but 2 96th minute goals coming against us as well. 2 96 minutes. So I'm on my replacement TV. I had to go down to the Best Buy equivalent because there's a size 12 bookmark through my TV. But look, as I said, most other sports are going well, especially MLS, absolute money printer. But yeah, we really need a big bounce back in European soccer this weekend.
Kev, you'll get it, man. You're usually on spot. It's a game of ebbs and flows. So they're going to be those 0-3 or 0-4 runs followed by 7-0 runs. So it is a marathon, not a sprint. Speaking of sprinting, I could probably beat this guy in a sprint. Pavlos, what is going on?
I doubt it, but we can try it out next time I'm in Vegas. But yeah, I had a nice winner in my 5% EPL bet with Aston Villa this weekend. Other plays, as Kevin said, I had disallowed goals, red cards again, own goals, even a volcano erupted in freaking Iceland to ruin one of my bets. So I think I need a witch doctor or something, or some cleansing to do. But yeah, the EPL has been very kind for us so far this season, and I have another 5% EPL play of the week loaded at my page. I'm looking at some Bundesliga as well, but the Bundesliga has been really, let's just say, weird to start the season. Just play the overs, just bet on the overs. But focusing more on the EPL this season because I think we got an edge here.
Yeah, it was a very good EPL weekend for me. Saturday was very good. A sweep of the board in EPL and MLS as well too, with a couple of the wins coming from my home team. I'm a fan and a season ticket holder for Toronto FC, and that team is starting to gel. They're starting to score some goals, and if they can get their way into the playoffs, boys, look out. But this is the EPL show, and we're welcoming a new face to the WagerTalk family. Welcome, Bryan Power. How you doing?
Great. Coming off a good weekend, I would have had a sweep on the Premier League Saturday if Fulham would have just made that penalty. Could have gone 3-0 there, in addition to the 2 totals that won. But then we hit best bets, Serie A, La Liga, feeling good. Excited to be on here for the first time and hoping I don't embarrass myself.
You will be fine, my friend. You will be fine. It's the banter that goes on in the show. Kevin will come at you if he really feels like it, but he normally has Nick to kick around, but he doesn't have Nick. Nick is traveling through Europe, so but he will be back next week. Guys, let's get right to it. We've got the first game. This one goes on Saturday. This one is Everton and Nottingham Forest. Let's look at the numbers on this one. Everton minus 118. The draw is plus 260. Nottingham Forest plus 320. Guys, it's we're only into round 3 thus far of this opening round. And you look at it, this looks like a big 3 points for Everton. 3 points that they do need. We're like I said, we're 3 rounds into the season, or the third round of the season. They have yet to score a goal. They dropped a 1-0 loss to Chelsea, and then lost at Villa 2-1 with that goal coming on an own goal. So they still haven't actually scored a goal. And you look at Forest themselves; they're coming off a 1-0 win at home against West Ham, and that was a game in which I had the total in that game on Sunday, and I thought that would go over. 2 disallowed goals, a missed penalty by Declan Rice for the Hammers, and that while they won, that total did not get there. So a couple games in, but I think this is a big one for Frank Lampard. He's got to get a win for these boys, because they've got a couple of away fixtures at Brentford and Leeds. And then they've got Arsenal and Liverpool. It doesn't get any easier for them, and you don't want to start the season in that relegation zone after about 6 weeks of the season. So, Bryan, give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I looked at this the exact same way, that, it's only August, match week 3, but Everton's got to be looking at this and saying, we've got to have all 3 points here. Among the Premier League holdovers, I think them and Southampton had the most to worry about when it came to relegation coming into the season. Read about 2 weeks ago, Frank Lampard's side, they had a pretty substantial amount of tickets written, large part of the handle in the relegation market. So people not believing in them. Now the side they face this week, Nottingham Forest, you mentioned they're coming off the shock 1-0 win last week. I was also shocked that West Ham couldn't put one on the board there. They had certainly had plenty of chances. The disallowed goal right before half from VAR, as it should have been, from VAR. And then they had the missed penalty and another shot hit the woodwork. Later, I think Forest obviously then bit lucky to get all 3 points last week. They lost the expected goal battle, and it's going to be difficult for them to match the emotion of last week. I know that's something that's hard to quantify, certainly, but first Premier League win in 23 years, coming in front of the home crowd. You would think, okay, maybe there's going to be a letdown this week, but you mentioned the struggles with Everton, and it's only Tuesday. I'm not ready to get on their bandwagon just yet. You mentioned the only goal is an own goal this season, and they're last in the league in expected goals allowed as well. So if not for their own offensive struggles, Everton's, I'd probably be taking a look at the over 2.5 here, because Forest should have given up more goals last week as well, and they're actually third worst in expected goals allowed after 2 weeks. So I think both sides are due to start giving up more goals moving forward.
All right, that's Bryan Power of WagerTalk.com, and you can get 30 days of his Soccer All Access as a show promo when you use the coupon code POWER30. So use POWER30 on his page, and you get 30 days of his soccer plays for only $139. It is a great deal. Pavlos, you look at this game, and I talked about having the total in it, and I thought it would be a much more wide open game between West Ham and Nottingham Forest, and for the most part, it was. There's plenty of chances in that game. And both these teams had come off of games against teams where they just didn't. You look at Nottingham Forest played Newcastle at St. James, not a good place to play if you're looking for offensive numbers. And then West Ham played against Man City and only had 25% possession in that game. You're not going to score a lot of goals. So I thought 2 teams opening it up on week 2 would happen. Those disallowed goals kind of upset me. Do we see any goals here? Can you agree with us, or are you looking somewhere different?
To be honest, if I had to take a total, I'd probably lean a bit more to the under 2.5 goals. But, it's really tough to say with this Everton side. The season started in the worst possible manner for them. The best player, Calvert-Lewin, who is by far the best striker in that squad, was injured. in the preseason in a training, I believe. They have a lot of absences. The first match of the season, they also lost Godfrey and Mina to injuries, who were their two starting centre backs. They did bring Connor Cody, centre back from and Wolves captain, to fill in the gap, but he also suffered an injury last week. I think it's a minor injury, but these head injuries can really be lingering. He might have a concussion, then he might go into the concussion protocols. They also lost Doucouré, who is by far their best holding midfielder, and now they're out of midfielders. Alan is out, Andre Gomez is out, Townsend is out, so he's really have to use. He did use a lot of players out of position. He used Iwobi on a midfield position, and the guy is a winger. So it's a crisis at Everton. I'm not so sure if they're going to get some reinforcements just in time. Frank Lampard might have to use again, might have to even shift his formation in order to field a competitive side against Nottingham. And Nottingham, they've big winners in the transfer window. They've spent a whole lot of money. Recently, they signed Emmanuel Dennis from Watford, who was quite good last season. He scored multiple goals for Watford. They brought in Atalanta's Remo Freuler for the midfield, which is also an excellent addition, and Crystal Palace's Sekou Kouyaté, who is also a nice holding midfielder. So all three excellent additions, but again, chemistry is probably going to be an issue until all those players gel together. So I can't really trust. I know Everton, they really need a win here. I don't really think they can get it done, especially at minus 118. I'm not going anywhere near that. I'm going to go Nottingham Forest plus half a goal at minus 104 here. And if I had to play a total, I'd lean towards the under. But I think Forest plus half a goal is the way to play here, to play this.
Yeah, I think so too, Pavlos, and I like that. I was going to throw it back to you and ask you what your thoughts were on because I can't jump yet on the Everton on their bandwagon if they even have one at this point here. But the double result on which is the plus half, the double result on Nottingham Forest is minus 125. It's not a bad number. If you think at the very least they're going to get a draw, but that's where taking the plus half comes in as well too. Kev, you're a Lampard fan, and you told us all last year when Everton was mired near the bottom in that relegation battle that Frankie would come in and take care of them, and he did. But they're 0-2 and not looking good. What do you think?
It's a long season, Carmine. Calm down. Like Frankel sorted out. But in terms of this game, I was impressed with Forest on Sunday. Against West Ham. Obviously, Bryan mentioned it. They did ride their luck a little in that game. Missed penalty, disallowed goal. They hit the bar twice. I mean, West Ham basically did everything but score. Absolutely bombarded them. But look, Forest showed why they had the Championship second best defensive record last season. Dean Henderson in nets was absolutely fantastic as well. Not really sure what United are doing, putting them out on loan when the key is taking up space. But I think Forest will grow from that, that first, win in 23 years. I would like Forest here. This line opened up, I believe, earlier in the week. On Sunday at plus 3/4. So money has agreed with Pavlos. It's poured in on Forest. Now it's down to a half a goal. So that bit of value, because you do like that protection, if Everton were to squeak out a one-goal win. But so I'm going to turn instead to the both teams to score prop on this one, minus 125. As again, looking back to last week, Everton created a ton of scoring opportunities against Aston Villa. I don't think that game was anywhere near as kind of cut and dry as the final scoreline suggests with that own goal and so on. So I think Everton can definitely break the deadlock here. They're more than capable of doing that, especially at home. We know they usually lift their game, at Goodison. And by the same token, I think Forest, kind of building on from Sunday's win over West Ham, can get a goal in this game as well. We know how much Everton struggle defensively in games. You guys mentioned that. And both of these teams combined are already giving up an average of 17.5 shots per game this season. I mean, just as a comparison, Man City are giving up 4.5 by comparison. So it's an absolutely massive gulf when you're giving up that many scoring opportunities to opposing teams. Generally you're going to see goals. So I see plenty of action in this one. And I like the both teams to score yes prop as my play in this game.
All right, that's Kevin Dolan, WagerTalk.com, and you now know why he is still on Frank Lampard's Christmas card list with Everton. Anyways, guys, let's go to the second game on the card. This is Newcastle and Man City. Let's look at the numbers on this one. Newcastle plus 700. The draw is plus 400. Manchester City off to a 2-0 start, minus 275, a lower number than you would expect. But we're going to look at this one. Listen, it's a positive start thus far for the Magpies, who are on 4 points. And you have to remember, this is a team that took 9 rounds of the Premier League season last year to get 4 points. And those were on 4 draws. They didn't actually win their first game until the 15th match of the season. And City took it to them last year, 4-0 at St. James, 5-0 at home. But this is, I think, a much better Newcastle team. Kev, I'm going to go to you first. It feels like it could be an offensive free reign for this City team that's playing absolutely phenomenal 2 weeks into the season. But I kind of feel like Castle's going to find a way of slowing them down in this game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I echo those thoughts, Carmine, because just in terms of the side, you'd have to be careful about looking at this game historically, in my opinion, as, Manchester City have blown out Newcastle pretty significantly, over the last few head-to-heads, by a huge margin as well, outscored them by a combined 20-3 scoreline over the last 5 head-to-heads and all, and shut them out in 4 of those 5 games also. So, on the surface at least, minus 1.5 looks relatively decent value on the champions, heading into this one. But I think, obviously everybody on the panel can agree, this isn't the same Newcastle side we've seen from seasons past. They're a team who have continued to evolve, you'd say, over the last, at least season and a half. Obviously, a huge influx of money always helps with that. But, they're doing it the right way, in my opinion. Eddie Howe has been fairly patient in the transfer window. He's bringing in really solid signings. I've always been a Nick Pope fan. I thought that was a fantastic signing. And he's not willing to just blow cash for the sake of it either. Offered 50 million for James Maddison. Leicester know how much are in those Newcastle vaults, so they want 60. That presents then a stumbling block for Eddie Howe. So I like that. They're not just splashing the cash and doing all these crazy contracts. They want to build the team kind of organically. So I think this team will be a force over the next few seasons. I think they can really play Man City tight here. In terms of a side, I quite like the value of Newcastle getting plus 1.5 here, at home, as I believe they can play City tough in this one. And, Newcastle are the only other team along with Manchester City who have allowed no goals in the season so far. They also rank top 5 in overall offensive shots allowed to opponents. Top 3 at home. So I don't see this being a typical, kind of City blowout here by any stretch. As I said, I do believe Newcastle can hang tough. So I like the value on the point spread. I'll talk about the total a little later on because obviously that's going to be my best bet. But from a side, Newcastle plus 1.5 for me.
All right, Pavlos, 4-0 last weekend for the Citizens, and none of the goals scored by Erling Haaland, which was kind of a surprise. Every time I saw it light up with an alert that City had scored another goal, I figured it's got to be Haaland in it. But does he get on the score sheet here?
This is actually going to be a tough match, I believe, for Manchester City. Kevin touched on on how historically how Manchester City have done historically against Newcastle, and I have to say that they've covered the minus 1.5 goal handicap in just 2 of their last 7 trips to this venue. So apart from those last couple of seasons where they they've scored a ton of goals against this Newcastle, they usually keep clean sheets against them. In this case, Newcastle, they were really good in their first match. Of course, it was against Nottingham Forest. They had 23 scoring chances, 30 shots on goal. They allowed 0 shots on their own target. But then in their last match against Brighton, they got caught up in that Brighton defense. They were almost non-existent in that match. They created just 4 scoring chances, just 1 shot on goal. They allowed 7 to their opponents. So if they allow 7 to Manchester City, they're going to concede like maybe 2 or 3 goals. City, they've been operating really, really well defensively this season. They had the, Nick Borman magic wand last week. They won 4-0. with Liverpool dropping points left and right, I think Manchester City are on track for an easy title. If you still think that Liverpool is going to win the title, you should go grab whatever price is on Liverpool right now, because it's going to be much bigger. So as far as this match goes, the only play that makes sense for me and has a lot of value is City to win to nil at plus 140. You can maybe take an alternative approach with both teams to score no at plus 100, but do you see a goalless draw here? I do not. So Manchester City to win to nil plus 140 here, but I wouldn't be surprised by a low-scoring match either.
All right, Pavlos, Laguretos of Sports. Memo, Bryan, we're going to give you the last word on this. And, Pavlos and I on shows will always talk about, we look at some of the exact score lines, and you look at the three lowest numbers on the exact score line, and you have 2-0 on City to win 2-0 plus 700, and then plus 850 on 1-0 City and 2-1 City. So there's some low numbers there that tell you that they're not looking for a lot of goals in this one. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so this might be the first time I get jumped on, because I was looking at this. Kevin mentioned these are the only two teams that haven't given up a goal yet. We know I think Man City's going to score. Last week I had the over against Bournemouth. In my analysis, I said look for them to do all the heavy lifting, set it over themselves. Got a little lucky. The fourth goal was an own goal. They put 3 on the board in the first half. But if we think Newcastle is going to be competitive here, does that mean they're going to score a goal? And I was actually looking at the opposite thing. I had a question mark in my notes. Both teams a score prop. Is that in play here? Maybe it's 1-1. Maybe it's 2-1, like you said. I just think 3 clean sheets in a row to open the year. Okay, is anyone going to be shocked if City does that? No, they're not. But, I can throw it back to you guys if you want. I was looking at this and saying, hey, if Newcastle's going to be as competitive as we all think, I think they're going to get on the board. And Man City's going to get on the board.
Yeah. And I think City will get on the board, I have to believe. But it comes back to the age-old thing over the last few years. And Kev, I've always said it to you, Pep Guardiola says the best defense is an offense. And when, much like the game against West Ham in round 1 of the Premier League season, they held on to the ball 75% possession numbers. You're not going to get a lot of attempts on goal and good ones when you only have the ball about 25% of the time. So it's a little tough there. Anything to add?
Not really, because I'll obviously cover the total in my best bet. But yeah, Bryan brings up the exact score lines you mentioned there. There's a reason for that, obviously, because I could definitely see. I just think Newcastle are going to grind out this game. It's the standalone game at St. James's Park, so obviously the place will be rocking. I think 1-0, possibly 2-1 in my head, but I just think they're going to make it very difficult for City on Sunday.
Should mention Newcastle's won the expected goal battle in both matches pretty handily as well.
Yeah, who was the team that last year, we always used to joke around about it, but who was the team that kept winning the XG numbers and losing games? Was that Brighton?
Brighton,
yeah.
Right, Brighton. So it seems to happen each and every week, at least in a couple games, where you look at the final XG numbers and think, how did I end up on the wrong end of this, or how did I end up on the right end of this with those type of numbers? But with that said, let's look at the Monday game where the numbers are going to be skewed, I think, but it is Man United and Liverpool numbers here. Man United plus 375 at home. The draw is plus 320. Liverpool minus 154. That's the opening number. That number has been steamed a bit. It's up to minus 175 at some books. And you can always find the lines on the WagerTalk live lines, which are free on our website. So head over to WagerTalk.com, click on live lines, and in the soccer menu, you can find the Premier League, and you can get the live lines and just see how they're moving throughout the week, which is always a good indicator as well, too. But again, guys, let's get to this before I throw it to Pavlos. It's the Monday fixture. It's the final game on today's show we're going to discuss. And if I was going to use a word, it would be disappointment. Now, you would think disappointment in Man United, who looked absolutely lifeless through 2 rounds of this season. But Liverpool, 2 draws, in a couple games where they have looked good, but they've looked disappointing. You wonder whether they're still trying to, with a couple of new additions, one being Darwin Nunez, whether they're still trying to form some type of chemistry. Won't have to worry about it next week or in this game because he got a red card, obviously, on Monday, so he won't be playing in it. But you have to believe Liverpool puts it together here, especially against this porous Man United defense. I think until something changes at United as far as outgoing players, I think there's still some dead weight on this team. I'm laying the number here. I'm taking the -1 on Liverpool. I'm not going to play the money line because I believe by game time it's going to be much higher. I'm going to lay the one with Liverpool here. Pavlos, are you with me or against me?
I think I'm against you, but I might be crazy. I mean, who would have thought that United would be sitting at the bottom of the league, Liverpool would be sitting at the 12th spot, and Brentford are sitting at the 3rd spot of the season. I think I'm on drugs, which I'm not. So, Manchester United, I called them a dumpster fire last week. Now I'm at a loss for words. I did give out the over 2.5 goals in last week's show, and I also gave out Brentford plus half a goal as a bonus play, but I never expected them to be 4-0 up at halftime. And keep in mind that Ronaldo started for Manchester United, so they're running out of excuses right now. So, United, they're just a dumpster fire, but they are somehow, for some reason, traditionally solid as hosts against Liverpool. They've only lost 2 of the last 10 matches. 4 wins, 4 draws, and 2 losses. Of course, those 2 losses came in the last 2 seasons. And Liverpool, they stumbled again, this time at home against Crystal Palace. They didn't really make their scoring chances count in the first half. Conceded first against Zaha. Then Darwin Nunez was sent off. Liverpool, they reacted perfectly with they pulled even just 4 minutes later. They were also in danger of conceding another goal by Zaha. If Zaha could only, throw the ball in the empty net, maybe Liverpool would be, right down there with Manchester United in the standings. But, Manchester United, actually both teams are hurting right now. And there's really no way of knowing where this match is going to go. But this is a betting show. And I just, Liverpool's the price on Liverpool money line just really doesn't do it for me. Doesn't really appeal to me. -1, maybe. This looks like a match with goals to me. I mean, both teams under a lot of steam right now, especially Manchester United. The over 3 goals at -125 could be a safe way to go here. Both teams are ready to burst, and I could easily see a goal fest in this match. But call me crazy, but I might have a small stake bet on the draw here, plus 350. I don't really want to back United with +1 goal. You have to maybe take a 2-3 unit bet on that one. I think I'm gonna use just a 1 unit bet on the draw here, plus 350, and maybe the over 3 goals at -125. I think that's the way to go here. I think we'll see goals here.
All right, so that is Pavlos Laguretos of Sports Memo. I can confirm that he does not agree with me, and he is not on drugs, he says. So with that, we're going to go to Bryan for your thoughts on the Man United Liverpool game.
Yeah, I could see over 3 here as well. We talked about the expected goals and how much stock to put on that a minute ago. Liverpool has won the expected goal battle in both matches against 2 sides that I think are better than most people realize. And keep in mind that Monday's equalizer that they got, I think we were talking a little bit about this off air, it was, but they were the better team yesterday, and their equalizer came when they were down a man 4 minutes after the red card was shown. Dumpster fire seems to be the term everyone's throwing around with Man U. Nothing fluky either about this 0-2 start, dead last in the league in goal difference. And let's not forget, you talk about the history. Last year, the 2 Premier League matches between these 2 sides ended up 9-0 in aggregate towards Liverpool. Absolute domination. So there's no way to back United here. What their floor is, I don't know yet. We'll wait and see. I just don't think this week's the time to take them. Obviously, Liverpool's just as motivated coming off the disappointing draws. So my gut says yes. Liverpool gets off the schneid. They get their first win, but over is probably the better bet.
All right, Brian Power, WagerTalk.com. Kev, you're getting the final word on this, and it's much like Bryan just said. I'm having a hard time finding anything in the two games from Man United where you could just look and say, okay, this was a positive 10 minutes from them that they can build off of, a positive 20 minutes. They played the opening 10 minutes of their opening round match, and the high press that Eric Ten Hag wants from them, but they just reverted back to the Man United of last year. And we're only 2 weeks into the season, of course. So, I'm not saying let's start jumping ship, but they didn't look good again last weekend against Brentford. And this is a hurting Liverpool team that won 3 points. Where are you going here?
I mean, Pavlos must be on drugs if he's considering taking Manchester United, in my opinion, because even to draw this game, I just don't see it. You mentioned Ten Hag's high press. They're incapable of playing it. They're incapable of playing out from the back. I mean, it's actually funny because we've seen this line actually chip in on the United side. Obviously, we all seen Liverpool lay a duck egg last night against Crystal Palace, but even so, it's like, maybe I'm missing something. Have all these early bird bettors suddenly forgot, what we witnessed on Saturday with United? They're an absolute train wreck right now. I said last week how I wanted absolutely no part of this team, at least in the short term. And, being able to get Liverpool here at around minus 175 just to win the game, I'm going to see if potentially this line cuts in even more. I can't see it, though. But, make no mistake, that's something that'll be on my card as well. The other thing we talked about last week, I mean, it's just this kind of, because they're such a huge club, especially traditionally, so United, they have to bounce back at some point, surely. Look at all their money. But they're utterly incapable of doing it. We're not talking about a bad day at the office here. This team is on absolute life support. 7 straight road losses now for United. It's their worst start to a top-flight league campaign in over 100 years. Alan Shearer has called them out for having no heart. Roy Keane's obviously done the same thing, but he'd do that on a regular Saturday. Graham Souness was on TalkSport last week as well. One of the callers called in to describe what was happening at the club, and he called it systemic decline. I mean, that's pretty hardcore, but you can't even argue with that description. Look, we know Liverpool have some issues. Mane's link-up play from the midfield still seems to be missing. I'm not sold on that. The midfield, like Henderson, Fabinho, Elliott, no central areas as well. I think good teams will get to Liverpool there. But United simply aren't a good team, so I don't see any problems with Liverpool there. And, Liverpool's issues basically are definitely fixable. As Bryan said, they've dominated both games in terms of attack and total XG. But United's issues are structural, foundational, basically from the board on down. And that's a much more concerning issue for me. So I'm not going to complicate it. Minus 175 obviously is not cheap. But just to win the game against Manchester United, sign me up for that all day long.
All right, Kevin Dolan, WagerTalk.com. Until something changes there, you know what I mean? Like you can blame, it starts from the top. You blame the owners, the Glazers, the management team, the board that they put in, the players that they picked up. They have the highest net spend, I think, the last 10 or 12 years, and nothing to show for it except for bad contracts. So until things change. And then you've got Cristiano Ronaldo, who does not want to be there. Everyone knows it. The team knows it. And that's the atmosphere inside the dressing room. When you know you have a player on the team and he's starting who doesn't want to be there, there's a trickle-down effect to the rest of the team. And I think that's what's happening with this Manchester United team. Guys, it's the EPL show. We covered 3 games, but it's not over yet. We are going to do a best bet segment, and everyone's going to give you an EPL play. So we'll kick it off with Bryan. Bryan, you have a game going on Sunday. Tell us what you guys your show best bet.
All right, hoping for some first-time luck here. I'm looking at Chelsea to beat Leeds United. I know it's a high price, but I say I'll lay minus 186. Neither side here has tasted defeat, but both won their opening matches and then played to 2-2 draws last week. But here's the key, and I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse here with this metric. Chelsea has won the expected goal battle in both matches. Leeds has lost the expected goal battle in both of its matches. And since Leeds earned promotion back into the Premier League before 2 seasons ago, 2020, 2021, They've obviously faced Chelsea 4 times in Premier League action. They've yet to win. Lost 3, drew once, outscored 9-3, and they have not scored a goal in either match here on home turf. Now, the elephant in the room, obviously, Thomas Tuchel, the aftermath of the Tottenham match last week. But I say don't overthink this. Chelsea's the better side, should win. They should have beaten the Spurs last week. I look for them to get the full 3 on Sunday.
All right, Brian Power. Remember, guys, you can get use code POWER30 to get $60 off his 30-day soccer all access and get all plays for 30 days for only $139. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you. You got a Sunday fixture as well. Tell us what you got.
I got the West Ham versus Brighton match. We touched a little bit about, on those teams. West Ham, they had an early disallowed goal. They conceded a goal at the stoppage time of the first half. Then their opponents had a disallowed goal. Then West Ham missed a penalty kick. Did West Ham deserve at least a draw here? Yes. Did they get it? No, but that's soccer. Now they'll have to play host to Brighton, which is a very, very dangerous match for West Ham, as they're going to be in between their Conference League matches against Danish side Viborg, and weekend matches involving teams who play midweek matches before and after are always dangerous. So that's one reason to fade West Ham here. And Brighton, they were stuck at a goalless draw against Newcastle just a week after humiliating Manchester United. Against Newcastle, they created 13 chances, 7 shots on target. They play nice defense, but their offense just fizzled a little bit. And here's the thing: they have when they were promoted in the EPL, I think it was 5 seasons ago. They signed a player called Pascal Gross. He's like a poor man's Kevin De Bruyne. He's been instrumental for this Brighton side, scored 2 goals in the opener. He's been leading the team in key passes per 90 minutes in all 5 seasons, with a little over 2.5 key passes per match. And he's also led the team in expected assists. So they're giving him much more room to operate this season. And I think this offense is going to hurt West Ham's defense. And more importantly, Brighton, they're unbeaten in 10 matches in the EPL since they arrived at the EPL. They haven't lost to West Ham. They have 4 wins and 6 draws, and actually 6 of the last 7 matches between the 2 sides were draws. So another draw wouldn't be a surprising result here. Draw is at plus 250, but I'm going to take the both teams to score at minus 133. We've seen, each of the last 7 matches between the 2 sides, actually 6 of the last 7 matches had both teams to score. I see both teams getting on the score sheet here. In the fear of a 1-1 draw, I wouldn't take West Ham here, just fade them because they're in between their European matches. But my play for this one is both teams to score minus 133.
All right, Pavlos Laguretos of Sports Memo. Kev, I'm going to be watching this game in the sportsbook at the Westgate on Sunday and enjoying a Newcastle Brown Ale, one of my favorite beers. Tell us what you got this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to that Manchester City-Newcastle game, Carmine. And, similar to what we talked about in the breakdown, I expect this to be a really competitive game. I mentioned Newcastle's defensive numbers earlier, but, both of these teams have been absolutely lights out in defense. As we said, both have allowed 0 goals so far in the year. Both rank top 5 in total opponent shots allowed. Both rank top 8 in opponent's 6-yard box chances. Both rank top 4 on defensive XGA as well. So, the list goes on with how effective both of these sides have started the season, how good they've been defensively. And, I'm a big Nick Pope fan, as I said at the start. So I do believe we see more of the same here on Sunday. I think Newcastle will provide a stern defensive test for City moving forward. So under 3 goals from me between Manchester City and Newcastle this weekend, best bet.
All right, Kevin Dolan at WagerTalk.com. Guys, I'm going to go back to, as my show best bet, the Liverpool-Manchester United game. Like I said, this is one where Liverpool needs to get back into the win column after a couple draws. They have looked good, but just not good enough. And until I see something from Man United, they are not going to get a single dollar from me backing them. So while I expect the money line to go up in this game, it's going to price me out of that big minus 200 number that I normally will not take. So I'll lay the goal line here. I'll take Liverpool -1 as your show best bet and look for a multi-goal win by the Reds at Old Trafford. Guys, thanks for tuning into Stoppage Time. We'll be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Nick Borman returns from his trip. So for myself, Kevin Dolan, Pavlos Laguretos, and Bryan Power, thanks for tuning in and good luck with your wagers.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.